everyone. Welcome to my first live stream. So excited to finally be going live. Currently going live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Unfortunately, if you're on Instagram, you're not going to be able to see what I'll be showing on my screen. Luckily, I'm not going to have a whole lot to show on there. I'm mainly just going to be talking. And today, I'm talking about how ugly branding affects your bottom line. That's right. Ugly branding can actually have dire effects on your revenue and your bottom line. So I'm going to be talking about the warning signs to look for, different examples of bad design, and how you can rectify this situation. So before we get started, I'm excited to go live on LinkedIn. I have been wanting to do this for a while, just been really busy, trying to build the Burgess agency as well as scale up the branding teacher. So really excited to be here. I'm gonna be going live more often, probably at least once or twice a month, and maybe I'll actually get some sort of name for it, some sort of brand. But let's go ahead and get started. So how does ugly branding affect your bottom line? So to begin with, we all judge people based upon what they look like. It's human nature. We are visual creatures. We judge people's houses. We judge people's clothes. We judge people's, cars. So it's intrinsic in us. And I hate to say that, but it's true. People are judgy. And the same goes for brands. People judge brands based upon what they look like. You can turn away a customer just based upon bad design before they even give you a chance. So how does design influence your moods, your emotions, and your physical responses? Because those are the things that's going to help trigger your brain to judge your brand and decide if you trust it or not. The first thing is actually with shapes. So shapes play a major role in how you judge brands. And there's lots of different psychologies around shapes. And I'm popping up on the screen here, if you can see different things and different logos, how they affect the different body. So I'm just gonna go through a few of them. I don't want to take up too much time on this, but squares show stability and consistency. The reason why is squares are strong looking. They have four corners, they have four walls. So you really feel stable when you have some sort of thing like a square. So you're gonna see that in a lot of different brands. And you'll see that like in the Home Depot's logo. You'll see that even Lowe's logo, and they have the little triangle at the top. They do have that rectangular bottom. Circles represent friendship, unity, and love. So it's a lot more of a peaceful shape. It really helps calms down your emotions. So you're gonna really be more apt to relate to that, especially if you're more of a calm person. And finally, there are rings, and you're gonna see the rings all across branding everywhere. So it means strength and partnerships. You see it with Audi or even the Olympics. The Olympics, they have strong people competing. So you're going to see that, bringing people together, bringing the whole world together, bringing all the countries together. That's what the rings really mean. So shapes can really influence, how you interpret a design. Next is space. So space is important. And I'm not talking about outer space. I'm talking about white space. And white space doesn't actually have to be white. It can be black, green, purple. It doesn't matter what color of the rainbow it is. Space is important. White space is important. Why? Because it strikes a balance. It lets you emphasize objects. And I'm a big, big proponent of white space because it really simplifies your entire design. It allows your eye to focus on certain aspects of your design, making it easier for you to connect with it. Finally, it also implies luxury and implies sophistication. So you will notice that brands like Apple really take advantage of this white space. You're gonna notice they really emphasize their product with a really cool, unique picture, and then really limited copy. And it's been working really well for them. To me, Apple is the best at branding. They do it exceptionally. And it's who I've really looked up to in my branding career. And one of the biggest compliments I've ever received is that my brands look very much like Apple. And I'm not copying them. It's just always how my design aesthetic has been. I go for a really modern, clean, simple look, and that's what they do. And I also really try to bring in different elements of design to really help you connect with the brand. So that's how important white space is. So the more cluttered your page is, the less likely people are going to interpret the data or the words you have on page and actually connect with it. So you really want to have a lot of white space to really help guide your customers, your target audience to look on the page at the right spots. And finally, there are colors. So colors, we all know, play a big role in how we react to things. Remember how they had the drunk tank at the jail? I remember learning about that as a kid when we went and toured it. I think it was pink. I can't remember what it was. But there's lots of different colors that just influence your mood, your emotions. And, you can't judge brands based on their colors. You actually don't even realize the colors are actually influencing you at all. Red induces your appetite. So you're going to see a lot of red colors in fast food restaurants, because that's what's going to sense a sense of urgency. It's going to make you feel hungry. It's going to excite you. So when you look through all the different brands that we have going on, you have Wendy's, you have KFC, all these different ones, they use red because and even Target, as you're driving down the road, you see a red sign and does something to your brain to make you think, oh, I need to stop right now. Next, you have blue. And I'm not going to go through all the colors. I'm just going to go through my top 3 colors that sometimes, make the most sense to people. And blue really promotes calm and trust. And it's really associated with peace and tranquility. And you're going to notice this in a lot of tech companies, a lot of the more conservative brands. So look at Facebook, you look at Chase. So they all have blue because you trust them. I mean, you're giving a lot of data over to Facebook. Even right now, I'm streaming on Facebook. And what this means is that I'm giving them so much data, but I'm trusting with them data. Some reason I'm trusting with that data. I'm giving to them for free. And I don't care because I get to socialize and interact with people. Finally, there's a black. And, black is a color that can really go really well for brands or bad for brands. And if you notice something, my Burgess Agency brand is really heavily focused on black, white, and gray. And I did that for a reason, because black says authority, strength, power, and stability. You see it a lot more in really high-end brands. Look at all the high-end luxury brands. A lot of them use the color black, and black and gray are actually very timeless. So when I was going about creating the Burgess Agencies brand, I was thinking, how can I stand out from the other my competitors, And I thought, well, black is timeless. So I'm creating brands that are timeless. They're going to stand the test of time for my clients. I'm also trying to provide more of a high-end white glove service. It's me who works on the brand. You don't have all these other account executives or other graphic designers. It's me. So I really want to signify that is a really luxury thing for branding, to have a branding expert to work on your brand. So that's why, as I was developing it, I was going with the color black. So those are just some quick tidbits as to how design and shapes and colors influence your mood. But the real question I get all the time is, what is ugly design? So, and this is kind of a loaded question because design can be interpreted by so many different eyes. Everyone has an opinion. And when it comes to branding and marketing, everyone thinks they're a brander or a marketer. And so everyone thinks they're a designer and they think that their idea is going to be the best. But what is ugly design? So first thing, it's messy lines. Messy lines. Your eye can only focus on so many things. When you're designing something, you need to be able to have your eye go from left to right and top to bottom. They need to be able to have that person who is viewing that understand what is going on and interpret that data easier. So if you have a messy, cluttered line, it is just not going to work. And I'm throwing up an example on LinkedIn right now that just shows what a mess design can be. Your eye cannot focus on this at all. And I know you can't see me, but your eye cannot focus on this at all. There are so many different elements of this, from the welcome to the ham. It's, what is it, Ham Fest? And it's got different colors and different fonts and different elements. I have no idea what is going on with this logo, and nor will I ever have any idea what's going on with this flyer. It's not well designed. So you really, as you're going through and doing your designs for your branding marketing, think clean lines. Think, can my reader read this from left to right? Can their eye naturally go from top to bottom? And will they be able to actually understand and take away the main points? For this flyer, their main points should have been, hey, we have Hammy Fest, or whatever this thing is called. And the biggest thing is, where is it located, the time and date. Those are the most important things. You don't need to understand the first annual. You don't need to understand all these crazy things that go along with the festival. You just need to understand what it is and how people can attend and what information they need to know. So messy lines are something you should definitely avoid in your branding. Next is going to be too cluttered. And I see this all too often, especially on websites, especially on brands that have, maybe some not so senior or marketers on it, where they try to cram in so much information onto a page. I've always said that simpler is better. The less information you give people, the less confused they are going to be. So I'm throwing up an example right now of how cluttered a website can be. And it's a mess. And this is probably a really old website, probably from like somewhere in the early 2000s. I mean, it is all over the place. If you look at it, there are so many different colors, so many different size images. There are so many different text fonts, text colors, text sizes. I have no idea where to focus my eye. I don't even know what this website's about. I mean, obviously it looks like it's talking about Democratic news and Republican news, and there's some blogs on here, and a lot of different photos of people. So it is all over the place. You have no idea where to go on this page. It actually takes it and you become frozen because you get that fear where, I don't know, it's too overwhelming. So having a design that is too colored is not going to work. Too cluttered, is not going to work for your brand. You have to give people a place to focus. You have to make it look good. So you need to make sure that if your eye can't focus on this, you need to do some sort of editing to your brand. The next thing is inconsistency. And I see this all the time. When I work with brands to rebrand their businesses, one of the biggest things I notice is they're inconsistent in their branding. One salesperson or someone in the business is going to be using one flyer. Someone else might be using a different flyer. There might be different logos being used, different size logos, different colors. And that really confuses people. In order to establish a really good brand identity, you have to have consistency. You have to make sure that you are putting out the same messaging. You have to make sure you're putting out the same designs, the same brand voice. All these things play such a huge role in getting people to remember you. The market is cluttered right now. There are so many brands popping up in every single industry, and a lot of businesses fail. So every year there's new entrepreneurs going out there and starting their brands. And the most important advice I can give someone starting their brand is to do it right, and do it right the first time. Your brand can evolve. It can change over time, but it needs to evolve slowly. You don't want to introduce major changes too close together. So you need to be consistent with that. The next thing is too many colors. Now, I always recommend brands stick to 3 colors. 1 primary color and 2 accent colors. Now, I will say sometimes you can throw in a 4th color there, maybe for fonts or something, but I highly recommend you don't do that. Stick to 3 colors, and they should complement each other. So when you go to a website and you see, purples and yellows and greens and blues, it just doesn't work well. You need to stick to 3 colors, 1 primary color that's going to be your main color to use, and 2 accent colors. The more colors you throw in there and the more variations of those colors, the more confused people are going to be. I think I read a stat the other day that it's something like, I think 80% of people, when a brand uses a color, 80% of people will recognize that. So they will actually start to understand your brand colors, and it actually helps people connect with you. So it's important to stick to a color, pick a color and stick with it. It's okay if you want to change it over time. It's okay if you do a rebranding a few years later, but once you pick your colors, don't change it for a while. Stick with it, let it play out, see how the market reacts to it, and then make some adjustments. You should always test things out. What's your brand today might not be your brand 7 years from now. Remember, it's recommended that every 7 to 10 years you refresh your brand. And that's because design trends change, color trends change, messaging changes, the industry involves that you're in. Your business today will not be your business a few years from now. You're going to be adapting for the market. So you want to make sure that your brand, your design, your messaging all keeps up with it, which is why it's important to go through these rebranding exercises every so often. And finally, the last thing I want to talk about are ugly logos. Now, logos are not the most important part of branding. And most businesses and people I work with get stuck in my rebranding process on the logo because they think it's the most important part, but it's not. Logos, if you're noticing something, there's a trend. Logos are getting simpler. They're getting flatter. They're getting more, I don't want to say, is it homogenous? Is that the right word? They're becoming all the same. And there's a reason for that. Back in the day, 7, 8 years ago, let's just say that, logos were a lot more in depth. They were a lot more unique. And that's probably because that was right as the digital age really was taking off. In the past decade, the digital age really came to fruition. Social media came to fruition. We became addicted to our cell phones. We're always on them. Logos have been simplified down because of a simple reason that it's easier on your screen. That's it. That's the only reason logos are simplified and more modern. And there's a big debate right now within the branding industry as to if this is a good thing. And I personally think it's a great thing. I think modern, sleek, clean logos look way better than the heavy, intricately designed logos of the past. But I was doing some research, and I want to go through some of my top worst logos I've seen in my career. And I'm going to actually start with, I'm popping up on screen now for everyone on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, Kumin. I think that's how you say it. And the reason I hate this logo is not the K-U-M or the N. It's the circle smiley face. To me, it looks like a child drew this and slapped it on the logo. Like they went to one of their students who's getting tutored. Hey, can you make our logo for us? Well, I really want to put a smiley face in here. And the kid isn't even smiling. He looks like he's unhappy. Like he doesn't even want to be here. So I just think this logo, if you're going to go there and you want to portray happiness and that you're teaching people and that you are helping kids succeed, I just don't think that logo works well for it. If you were just to have the circle, it would, or the O, it would work so much better. And I think the smiley face just doesn't really work. The next one is Kirkland Signature. So this is the Costco brand, and a lot of people know this logo. You see it everywhere we're in Costco. I love the Kirkland part of it. I think it's strong. I think it is representative of the brand. The issue I have with this is the signature. It reminds me of the 80s, and I love the 80s. I love everything about the 80s, but it reminds me of the neon signs, just the quick little signature. And I just think that cursive font just looks horrible in branding unless you have some sort of really good reason to use it. You know, some people have really frilly, really, I guess you could say, uplifting, more feminine brands, I guess you could say. And I think that those kind of fonts work amazing in them. But when it comes to this, it's a contrast. It's a strong top font and a cursive font, and it just doesn't work well together. So I just really hate this logo. And also it's the red color, the red and black. I just don't think it works well together. Even though red and black go amazing together, I don't think it represents the brand truly, because they have some really amazing products under Kirkland Signature. And to me, this just cheapens the brand. They could have created something much more high-end looking that would have competed with all the high-end brands they have there, all the more pricier, you know, full price brand items. And finally, my worst logo of all time. Now, I've done a video on this before on YouTube, or maybe it was a TikTok, I can't remember. And it's the Olympic logo. The 2012 Summer Olympics logo. And the reason I hate this logo is your eye has no idea where to look at. No idea. You cannot focus on anything. It's a hodgepodge of 4 different fonts almost. I guess you could say different design. I mean, shapes, you could call it, I guess. It just doesn't work well. And I don't understand their meaning behind it. To me, it looks like the logo's falling apart. Like, come here to the Olympics. We're going to do a shitty job and it's not going to be all together. I think they really could have had something much more sleek and modern. I mean, they threw in the rings, and I understand that's got to be part of the logo, but it just doesn't work well here. And the different London font, it doesn't work. And what is the little period, the little dot in the middle? It doesn't make sense to me. So, and I'm sorry on Instagram if you can't see this right now. And unfortunately, you know, Instagram has some limitations on streaming that I can't stream from all the other platforms. So sorry. But I really just hate this logo. I think it's awful. They could have went, and you know how much this logo was? It cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think it was like $500,000 or $600,000 for the company, the branding agency who made this logo. And to me, that's just astronomical because it is bad. And I've said this to other people and they agree with me. So ugly design can run so many different things. It can be messy lines, from being too cluttered to being inconsistent to having too many colors, and of course, having a bad logo. Beautiful design really does help people connect with you. It makes it easier. It makes people trust you better. The other day, I was speaking to a potential client who is looking to join my Brand Accelerator Academy. So if you're live from Instagram, that's what you probably see me talk about a lot more, is helping these entrepreneurs build their brands on their own. But he was telling me that he went to a website the other day, and he was planning on purchasing their service. And he got there and it was horrible. He goes, their branding was horrible. Their logo was horrible. Their website was a mess. I didn't trust them with my business. So I immediately exited and went and found one of their competitors. That just shows you that design can influence everything. Did you know that you judge a website in 0.05 seconds? The moment you land on a website, your brain will judge that brand in 0.05 seconds, not a half a second, 0.05 seconds. That's how quickly your brain comes to a conclusion about whether this is a good place to be or a bad place to be. And that is just astounding to me. So why does branding matter in your business? Why does it matter? And to me, the most important part of branding is always going to be messaging. And that's because messaging is how you dive deep into who you are and who your story is and where you came from and why you're in this business. But in order to get a good design, you have to dive into that messaging, because that's actually what's going to inspire your design style. The way you present your messaging on screen is going to be in a way that your audience can identify with. And the only way you can do that is by understanding who you are and who you want your brand to be. When you are doing branding, you need to take your personal preferences out of it. I don't care if you like the color blue. I don't care if you like big, bold fonts. You have to think about what is best for your brand. And to discover what is best for your brand, you need to dive into who you are, your messaging, all that. And I'll go into another live video about the importance of messaging, because it is the most important part of branding. But the reason that your design needs to represent who you are is there can be a big disconnect between design and what you're saying. If you are saying something that's really relaxing and calm, but have crazy, bold, vivid imagery that's really in your face, that's not very calming. So it's a disconnect there. The same goes for if you have that bold messaging, like, hey, look at me, but then you have really demure, soft design. It's just not going to connect well. So If you compare, your messaging with an amazing design style, you will see amazing returns on investment with your brand. Remember, branding is not a cost item on your balance sheet. It's an investment. It's an investment in your business. And you want to know why? Because branding can lead to a 33% increase in revenue just from branding. Would you leave a third of your revenue on the table just because you don't want to deal with branding or think it's a one-time thing? So your design should really represent who you are as a brand. And I've already talked about how Apple has clean lines, and you see that throughout their entire business, from the way they design their products, the way they speak about their products, the way the software design, it's very sleek and clean. The design aspect of it goes all the way throughout the entire brand. And design is a very important thing at Apple. They really talk about it all the time. And you look at other software companies, you don't see that, and you wonder why they're a little behind. It's because that design aspect of it creates that continuity, and it creates something that you come to expect with it. I love that I could be on my iPhone and I can also be on my MacBook, and they're communicating together and they look together perfectly. What looks great on my Mac looks great on my iPhone, and that they do that because of the amazing designers they have. Now, earlier I mentioned how that you can actually turn away customers before they even give you a chance. They land on your website, they get your marketing material, they see your social media posts, and they are turned away just because of design. There's an old saying I read the other day that it takes 5 hits to acquire a customer. And we all know it's probably a lot more than that. I mean, I think it's like 7 touch points to acquire a customer now to acquire them, but then one mistake, one hit to tear it down. So you can be talking to all these people online. They could be understanding your messaging, and you could send them a really bad flyer, a really bad brochure, or worse, you send them to your website and your website is outdated. That can turn away a customer right then and there just because they are expecting to see something high quality. We expect brands to have a great look and be professional. And a lot of small mom and pops get away with being less professional because obviously they don't have the funds for that. But for other businesses, it is very important. So it can make it difficult for people to understand your business. If you have a bad design style, what you're saying doesn't even matter because people are looking at the page, looking on your website, and they're just confused. They're like, this is so ugly. I don't know how to interpret it. But if you had something beautiful, then of course it's going to be easier for them to look at. And I've been looking through a lot of different stats lately. And I thought these were some great stats to share just because statistics are everything to me. They mean a lot and they hold a lot of clout in your marketing. So I thought it was very interesting that 89% of marketers say that brand awareness is the most important goal of their marketing. One of the hardest things in any industry, especially as a startup, is actually getting brand awareness and getting your brand identity out there. The more consistent you are with it, the more people are going to start to recognize you. And that's going to take time. I always tell my clients, you're not going to start seeing returns from your branding until about 4 to 6 months after we do a branding or rebranding. And it could actually be a little longer. It's up to you to take your brand and actually market it. It's up to you to put it into your marketing and sales processes. If you just build a brand and sit it there, no one's going to come to you. No one's going to do everything for you. I always say that branding is a foundation. It's a foundation upon which everything else is built. And I always say that think of branding like a car, and marketing are the roads to get you places. If you have a crappy car, it's a jalopy, you wouldn't trust it to drive across the country because it might break down and might not go as far. If you don't even have a car, you're fucked. Let's just be honest. You're going to be walking down the street and it's going to take you so much longer to get there. But if you have a nice car that's been beautifully designed, built out, it has all the bells and whistles, it is reliable, you will drive that thing across the country, no problems asked. Doesn't matter which path you take to get there. You can take any interstate, any freeway. Doesn't matter which marketing campaign you use, or if you're using social media, if you're doing you're doing billboards or direct marketing or DMing people. It doesn't matter which route to get you there. What matters is you have a car that will take you there. So branding gives you that foundation. It allows you to have something for people to connect with. Remember, people connect with people before they connect with brands. They're going to connect with your backstory, with why you're in business. Right now, especially with Generation Z, they see right through marketing more than any other generation in history. They want to see authenticity. They want to see you actually give them value. You can't just be saying, hey, this amazing product I have, look, it has 10 bells and whistles. You can do this with it. Nope, they don't give a fuck about that. What they care about is, how is this going to influence and help me? What is this product going to do for my life? And that's where I think Apple does it best. So does Nike. They don't talk about the products. They just show the shoe. They show the MacBook. They might talk about a few of the features, but they're really showing the lifestyle around them. And if brands can show that lifestyle and show how you're really interacting and helping people's lives, you're going to see a much greater return of investment. Another thing that I thought was interesting was that now 72% of marketers say that branded content is more effective than a magazine ads. Ads are dying. Even social media ads. I've had some good luck with some ads because, you obviously can get in front of your target audience, but traditional advertising is dying. Even TV ads, it's just not the same kind of thing. People aren't looking for advertisements. People hate advertisements. But you know what we love? We love seeing other people on our social media use these products. We like to see people give us their testimonials. We like that. So branded content is currently, one of the best ways to get some great return on investment on your marketing efforts. And finally, 50% of people follow 1 to 4 brands on social media. 50% of people follow brands. That's huge. And the reason they're able to get that following is they've been able to connect with these people. They've been able to showcase their beautiful designs. They've been able to showcase who they are and allow people to want to follow them, to learn more about them. You're following them because you want to learn more about their latest products, but also you want to also just see what kind of things they're posting, see what kind of lifestyle they're projecting out there. So we're coming to the end of this, but what are some warning signs to look for if you have ugly design? I mean, obviously the easiest thing is just to look around at your competitors. If your competitors look a lot better than you, it's time to rebrand and refresh your brand. If you're seeing decreased lead volume and you're doing the same marketing efforts and have no idea why leads are drying up, it probably is a problem with your branding. What you were saying a few months ago, even a few years ago, especially, is not going to be the same as currently. The market's always changing. What you're saying to your customers needs to always be adapting. You need to always be testing things. So if you're seeing decreased lead volume, it's probably an issue with your branding, even your design style. If you're seeing slower sales, maybe your website's getting a little outdated. Maybe your marketing material isn't connecting with people. Remember, design trends change on average every 10 years. It's just people get bored of things. People see something trendy, they want to do something new. So it's easy to get left behind on these design trends if you're not keeping up with them. But that's why we say every 7 to 10 years to rebrand. It helps you keep you fresh, keep you updated, keep you in the public eye, keep people realizing that you're still a business and you're here and you're trucking and that, hey, you're keeping up with the times. You also need to go look at your website. If you have an outdated website, that's the easiest way to get people to turn off from you, to get people to not want to work with you, because websites are your storefront. The first thing you're going to do when you find a business is go Google it. And that Google search is going to lead you to their actual webpage. It's going to lead you to the reviews. So you want to make sure that you have an updated website that looks amazing. If not, people are going to think you don't care about your brand, your marketing. They're going to think, oh, this person isn't even in business anymore. Look, they haven't updated their website since 2005. It looks horrible. If you're seeing social media comments drop, I mean, you can't help the algorithms, but if you're seeing social media comments drop, engagement drop, if you're seeing your ads not perform or anything like that, it might be something wrong with your design style, especially on Instagram. If you're watching from Instagram, Instagram is pretty. Your profile needs to be pretty. You need to have a consistent look. It doesn't matter as much on Facebook or LinkedIn. It matters on Instagram because they can instantly look at your profile and see your entire brand. They can see your colors. They can see your design style. So it's more important than ever on Instagram to make sure that your content has a great design style. We are visual creatures, remember that. So we have to make sure we're putting out things that look great to the eye. And finally, if your marketing materials aren't as effective, it's probably something wrong with their design. Or, it could be their messaging as well. I always say messaging is the most important part, but it could be the design of them. Just because you want to make sure you're getting the most important parts on that page or on screen, you want to make sure you're drawing eyes to them. That's why white space is so important. Whatever is your main point, your main takeaway that you want to get from that piece of marketing material, you need to make sure that it is, easy to recognize. It's bold, it's vivid, it's highlighted, it's something that way your eye is drawn there. I just worked on a new ebook, and at the bottom of it, I say, these are the top 3 branding mistakes not to make. And it's so big and bold that it makes you want to turn that page and be like, wow, what are those top 3 mistakes? So that ebook's coming out soon. So how do you rectify the situation? Once you've realized you have ugly design, once you've gone through and you're like, shit, this looks bad, I don't know what to do. The best option for you is to rebrand or refresh. And I know rebranding scares a lot of people. They see dollar signs, they see time, and you have to get that out of your head. Whether it's a refresh, a rebrand, a relook, a new design, it's all the same thing. It all goes through the same process. You need to work with someone who has a proven process where they can dive into who you are and design a brand that's perfect for you. That's why it's important to hire a third party. And I say this because when you are deep in the weeds, when you are working on your own brand, you can't see, what is it, the clouds from the sky or something like that? What is it? I can't remember the phrase, but you are deep into it. And I struggle with this. I am a branding expert. I've been doing this for years. I love building brands. For my own brand, for the branding teacher and for the Burgess Agency, I struggle. I struggle with my messaging. I struggle with my design style. I question myself all the time. And you want to know why? It's too personal to me. I'm too deep into it. So when I talk to my coaches and my business strategists on getting advice, they help me with that because they have that third party eye. They can see places that I'm missing. The same thing goes if you're going through rebranding or branding and using someone else. They're going to see holes. They're going to be able to dive deep into who you are. When I work with my clients, I ask them in the discovery call 60, 80, 90, 100 questions because I need to know everything about them. And I do that for a reason. I have to understand who you are. So if you can work with someone with that, your brand is going to come out so much stronger. The reason is they're going to design that brand that's right for you. I know that people think that brandings and rebrandings are expensive, and they can be. A rebranding typically costs anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000 in the US. So it's a hefty price, but it's an investment. Remember, branding is an investment. It's not a cost. People think it's a one and done thing, and it's not. It's something that needs to constantly be updated over and over again. Every few months, you should be evaluating your messaging and your design style. Your design style, it's going to change over time. You're going to see something, but hey, let me try that. But you need to make sure it's consistent. So you can add in little tweaks here. Like for me, I change up my font boldness and the thinness on certain different aspects of my marketing because I'm testing it out. I'm seeing what's working best. And it's okay to do that. But if you can work with someone, they will be able to do that for you and see what is best for you. And finally, when I mentioned that working with a third party has real results, one of these clients I worked with, the same year we updated and solidified their branding, saw a 350% increase in revenue the same year. That is just astronomical, considering the stat is 33% of revenue can be, from consistent branding. So to have something that was 350% was a major win. And that just shows you how getting your design style the same, making sure your messaging is the same, and making sure you have beautiful design that actually works, actually pays off over time. You're able to take that and run with it. Now, if you cannot hire an outside agency because it's too expensive, there are other options for you. You can hire a graphic designer on Fiverr. Now, that is a caveat because I will say cheap equals bad design. You're going to see that hiring someone off of Fiverr, sure, they're going to do a cool job, maybe design your logo, but they have to have an idea from you. You have to know exactly what you want. They can't just come up with it for you. So just remember that what you get what you pay for, technically. It's always true across every single industry. That you can update your branding to get a better look. If you just want to make a few design tweaks here and there, change your fonts, change your colors, that works. But just remember that if you're working with someone like that, they're not doing it for the brand. They're just for who represents you. They're just doing it to kind of give you a piece of, graphic design or logo, or here's a marketing material. So that is how ugly branding can affect your bottom line. It really, really can. And I've seen it happen time and time again where clients come to me and they're complaining that their marketing is not working. And the first thing I ask them is, show me your brand. Show me your brand. And I will immediately say, it's because of this. It's because of this. So that's how it happens. Thank you so much for joining this. I know I went a little longer than I wanted to, but I'll be doing a live stream again pretty soon, probably the next 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a month or so. I've been pretty busy. So thank you so much for joining, and get out there and build some brands and make sure your brands look good. And I'll see all of you next time. Thank you.